Thank you, Joe, for joining us on the Integral Chat. I don't usually start these interviews with current affairs, but I think because West Ham have done so well this season, you spoke about West Ham, I think it was this time last year on BT. I watched the clip back when things weren't going so well. And you said that, the fans aren't hard to please. All they want is a team that works hard, all pulling in the right direction. And there was no cohesion at that time. But do you think now that's exactly what the West Ham team is?
That's exactly what it is. And I've always been a big fan of David Moyes. From my time playing against his teams, knowing what they was all about. And when I said that at the time, it was right, because it's very easy for a club like West Ham, because of the recruitment over the last 10, 15 years, if you get 2 or 3 wrong uns in the door, it can easily go one way, because you're constantly trying to find a team and a harmony within a group where if you're signing players of different types, and you're asking them to do something they can't do, or you're getting what I like to call them, they're passing through players. They're either passing through on the way down or they're passing through on the way up, and you have to get away from that model. And I think David Moyes has encouraged the decision makers to get away. And when I talk about that, I think he's buying players who want to be there. Soufal, Souček, Jared Bowen, he knows Jesse Lingard, he's only in on loan, but he's bringing players in who are buying into what he's doing, and he's managed to make it a harmonious dressing room, which is very difficult at West Ham. But everything that's happening now comes from them. Everything I said, players that want to be there, players will fight, and then all of a sudden they're showing their quality because they're getting the basics right. And then they're flourishing, so it's exciting and it's great. But when I said West Ham fans, just want someone who they can see giving it their all, and putting it in and playing for the team, and they'll be happy. And that's always been the case. I found from my time, from when I was playing, when we had a team full of players doing that, they were happy.
What's it like when you're a player and then there are players in the group that aren't quite pulling their weight? Because I'm sure you would have had a few.
Yeah, I mean, listen, my first time around at West Ham when I was 21, so I was a young captain, and I did chastise a few, but not as much as I should have done in that season, and not as early as I should have done.
Can you tell us who they might have been?
I can't, Bianca. I don't want to do that. I'm not. But it wouldn't be. People will. It's all water under the bridge, but people will know. There wasn't too many bad eggs. It was actually a good dressing room second time round. But I've just seen over the years. I've seen the different types of players coming in at West Ham, and I think David's got it spot on. And if I was David Gold, David Sullivan, Karen Brady, I'd be only bringing in players that David Moyes wants. And that's so crucial.
In terms of where West Ham are in the league, whether they manage to stay in the top 4, which would be unbelievable, even just top 6, it would be a big boon for the club in the sense that the players that are already there will want to stay, won't they? Because there's going to be a lot of big clubs sniffing around those players now, especially the likes of Declan.
Well, Declan's fantastic player, great character, and bigger club. Also, bigger clubs with bigger resources will be sniffing around West Ham's players. That's for sure. But if this team finished 4th, we only managed to finish 5th and 7th. I think we had great players. So if this team can finish 4th, you're going to learn the lessons of history. You go and try and build on that rather than selling. I mean, that's a question for the chairman and where they want to take the club, But if you finish 4th in the Premier League, it's a fantastic achievement. If you finish 6th, it's a fantastic achievement. Keep your best players, bring some more in. My advice to Declan would be, unless it's something where it's absolutely blow your mind, you have to go. He's playing for a team that's fighting for a Champions League football. Mm. It's a great place to be, West Ham. He's playing for England. He's got his shirt for England as well. So there's a few little there's a few little anomalies in that. It's not just straightforward anymore because of how West Ham are doing. It's a noble cause. Although earlier on in my career, I had not much setbacks. Throughout, you can't play 20 years in football without, phone calls that break your heart and dealing with injuries, dealing with being let go, dealing with release, dealing with, I've had so many of my friends not make it as players, not suffer disappointments. And it's a great thing to, we're in an era now where we're very more mindful of people's mental health, and I think the very important thing for young players is your identity as a footballer, because it's such a hard game to get into. So you have to manage parents' expectations, and parents get excited, and that the kids pick up on everything, and then the kids only see themselves as footballers. So when they get told by one coach that you're not good enough, it can really affect their identity, it affects their mental health, and they don't know where to turn. So I think it's great trying to address that and trying to make it better for young players. It's multifaceted. I think the main thing is the education of the parents in the manner, because, and it's a lot of it has to be down to the parents. Agents can have a bearing on it, but you have to be, the parents you have to understand how tough it is to make it as a football player, and you need so much luck. But the kids, they can't just be footballers at a young age. They need to be aspirations. They need things that can fall, other passions that they can fall back on. Otherwise, in their mindset, if they're just a footballer and it's taken away from them, it's tough. So if you're a tough mindset and you can come back in this game, you face up to what needs to change, what needs to improve. You're prepared to make the sacrifices. You're prepared to leave it out there on a pitch, and then players generally do make careers in the game above the more talented players. And that's whatever way the game's changed over the last 20 years, that hasn't changed. And that's the good news is for all young players is that's a learnt skill. That's not something you're born with. You can become mentally tough yourself. You can learn, you can educate yourself, you can do it all. But you must have something on the side. You can't just leave it all into football. You must have something else to fall back on, because you need all the luck in the world in this game as well.
Yeah, definitely learning a skill or making sure you get your education is so important now. But you can come back, because the likes of, Declan Rice was released from Chelsea, and look how far he's come now. And he was lucky enough to have Mark Noble mentoring him on the way through. When you were coming through, who were your mentors? Who looked after you?
It's a good question. I mean, I was lucky. I come into a very strong dressing room. There were some lads who wasn't very helpful, some big names, and there were some that were really, really helpful, and I will love them forever. John Moncur, Steve Lomas, Trevor Sinclair, Steve Potts. These boys, they really sort of took me under the wing. And the difficult thing for them was, barring Trevor, who sort of, I soon became apprentice, player, England player, captain. Do you know what I mean? So the relationship changed, but I often think of them as I become an older player and I looked after the younger players. I had their sort of, how they treated me in my head. I do believe in karma, and I as I got older, like I said, I tried to help as many younger players as I could, and it was great.
Now, we all know about what you went on to achieve, everything you won and the glory with Chelsea and everything, although I don't think that will ever top the 1999 Intertoto Cup.
Still haven't got my medal, Bianca. Still haven't got my medal.
What?
They forgot the medals that night.
Oh my God.
Because I thought it was strange because we won the tournament and then there was no ceremony, there was no medal, and anything. Oh, okay, that must be how it is. But and then I was at the end of my career, I was putting all things in the safe or wherever it was, and I was like, where is that? I've gone on my Wikipedia page. It's like, oh, I've won the Intertoto Cup. Where's the medal? And I remembered I didn't got one. The FIFA must have forgot to bring them. Someone forgot to put it in the bag going to France for the final.
We need to get some sort of petition going so we get you
Why
that
not?
medal, because that's an important one.
Completes the collection.
I think what shapes you just as much, though, maybe more, are those times where things aren't going quite so well. They can really shape your character, make you stronger. So the difficult times in your career, would you pinpoint, when you were at Liverpool, and it obviously didn't go as you would plan? What was that like, and how did you get through that mentally?
Oh, it's good. I mean, yeah, it's just horrible when you're doing the same thing you've done all your career, and then you're pushed to the side, and you just feel there's no way out. I signed for Liverpool, and then literally weeks after, changed hands of ownership, and there was a change of plan. They literally, the message coming from me, they would like to get rid of me. I had a bad injury just before I signed for Liverpool, and I was never quite the same player as I was. Right. But I do believe I was good enough to still play in that team, because I'd come from Chelsea. We just won the double, and I got back from injury in October of that season. So I played 6-7 months of the season, played enough football, made an impact in the double winning side, and then went to Liverpool, who finished 7th, and I still had enough in me I still felt I had enough in me to play in that team, but somebody didn't think I could. So all I did was I tried to focus on what I could control, and that was I should train hard every day. I got in early, had my routine. One thing I regret doing was I went a bit within myself, a bit. I didn't mix with the dressing room as much as I could have done. It's the only time in my career I feel like I've never connected with my teammates. I've always had a great relationship wherever I've gone. I get on with people, and I love football. So, but that part of my career, I just tried to really concentrate on training hard and then getting out the door and getting home, or just not mixing. And I think looking back now, I think I should have. You need people around you, don't you? So I think I could have mixed a bit better. But I tried my hardest. I trained well, did everything right. And then, one of my most fun experiences from that, I was still fit. So when we went to Lille the next year, I had a season alone in France. I had a great time. Probably the best season I've had post 29 years of age, where I'd done my injury. So the second half of my career, and that was largely due to me keep doing the right things, and not getting away with myself, and not downing tools, which I've seen players do, and they don't come back from it.
Yeah, I was going to mention Lille actually, because there's a couple of players there. You didn't all play in the same team all of the time, but Dimitri Payet was there and Eden Hazard. I mean, that must have been. We did
play in the team a lot.
Oh, you did?
The first 6 months.
Towards the end of the season, though, right?
Yeah, Dimitri was injured a lot, and he couldn't get in the team at the start of the season. We had sort of like, I'd say apart from my Chelsea team, that was the best team I played in my career. It was a fantastic. So you obviously West Ham fans know about Payet. He couldn't get in the team for the first 6 months of the season. He was in and out, and then we had like so many great. We had about 6 fringe internationals. We had Debussy, who signed for Arsenal. We had a good career there. We had the Serbia and Montenegro captain, the Cameroon. We had a really good team, and there was a few within the season. We did play in the same team many times, but it was a very attacking team when we did, and he was a great player, Dimitri. But I'll have to admit, with Hazard, I knew he was going to become a world-class player. I didn't foresee Payet doing what he did, but he's had a great career.
Your team, you grew up at West Ham, but would you say you have more affinity with Chelsea now because of what you did there?
Do I have more affinity with Chelsea? I mean, people ask me this question all the time, and when you become a footballer, your mindset, your relationship with football changes, because effectively you're not watching the show, you're behind the scenes. You're seeing all the down and dirty stuff and all the nuts and bolts and everything. So you can't have that sort of tribal kind of relationship with one club. So when people say to me, who do you support? I say, well, I support Chelsea and West Ham and Lille and Tampa Bay Rowdies. You know, they're like, well, how do you do it? Well, I ain't got that. I can't, the luxury of just, that's your team and you're connected to them, because I've got great memories of all of these clubs. My eldest boy supports Chelsea because when he was getting into football, I finished my career when I'd done my badges and coached at Chelsea. So he's Chelsea. The younger one's up for grabs. He's gone from Leyton Orient, West Ham, and now I think he was Chelsea, and then he's PSG now. Wants to support PSG because of Mbappe. Right. And that's it. So so they're up for grabs. So,
well, if West Ham stay in the top four, maybe we'll be able to bring him into
listen, I told him as long as he don't support Spurs, he's all right. I'll disown him.
The only time you'll know if you're more Chelsea or West Ham is maybe on the last day of the season when that last top four spot is available.
Oh, imagine that.
And it was going to the wire. Then you'd know which way you really.
Very true. Very true. Do you know what? I'd be interested to know where I'd go with that. That'd be interesting. I honestly couldn't. I honestly don't know where I'd be. It'd be like, imagine it'd be like the Klitschko's parents if they ever had to fight for the world title. Who do they support? You know what I mean? That'd be interesting.
What's next for you? What do you hunger to do for the next few years?
Well, the plan was next season to start re-engaging with coaching. I'm enjoying my work with BT. We're re-engaging with coaching, looking around, looking at opportunities, blah, blah, blah. But I just think the way the world is at the moment, I'm just going to park that up and carry on doing the stuff in the media, because I love doing that.
Yeah.
Unless something come about where we're too good to refuse. So, but
when you say the way the world is now, what do you mean by that?
Well, football, I'm lucky enough that with the media, I get to go and watch games, and it ain't the football without the fans. It ain't the football that I loved, And also, I'd have to say as well with VAR and all things like that. I mean, I don't like the way it's going without, and I don't like it without fans. My journey into management will come purely through the desire to have that experience and the passion of football rather than necessity. So the job I would take would have to be so many non-negotiables I'd have with relationship with the owner and the fans, because it'll have to be done right. It will have to be done right. I wouldn't work for anybody who didn't do things right and wasn't transparent. So that narrows it down to about 3 football clubs I could work for.
West Ham, Chelsea and Lille.
Yeah, I mean, so I don't know really. I just I'm intuitive. When the time's right, I could have this interview tomorrow, and then I could go work for someone in 2 days' time.
What happened with Frank Lampard? It's one of those things. He'll obviously come back into management, but must have been a really big disappointment for him, mustn't it?
Yeah, it was a big disappointment. I think he's quite pragmatic about it. He understands the club. He understands, it's no. I think once dust settles, it's no. What's the word? It's no ill on him that
no shame in what happened.
No shame in being sacked by Chelsea, and then history will be kind, because he took that club, developed all them youngsters in probably the most difficult start for any Chelsea manager, losing your best player, not being able to sign anyone, expectations still being high, had that great season, brought in 6-7 players in a pandemic, taken longer to settle than their quality shows. And then the new manager now is benefiting from that thing. So, but he's pragmatic. He knows that that's Chelsea. He'll be a great manager. I think so. Yeah, I think for young England managers, I won't say it put me off. No, that everyone's experience. Stevie G's gone up to Rangers and done brilliant in his time up there.
Would you rather start at a lower level, because Frank obviously was in at Derby, which gave him some great experience? Would you rather do that, or would you rather be at the top? Do you think?
Good
question.
Look
at Jimmy Floyd Hasselbank's gone back into Burton.
Yeah.
Turned it all around. I don't know what's more difficult.
No, it's a good question. It's your journey. Everyone's journey will be different. And if it's meant to be, it's meant to be. I think I'll go into management without mindset. You know what I mean? Listen. If it's meant to be, it's meant to be. I'll go in there and try and do it my way. But again, it'll all hinge on conversations with what the hierarchy in whatever club I decide to do with, because I'm not doing it I'm not doing it for any other reason other than it has to work. So there'll be non-negotiable. So I don't know how far. I don't even think I'll get past an interview process with all my non-negotiables.
All right. Well, if that doesn't work out for you, maybe Ray will give you a job. Ever fancy being an agent?
Oh no! Leave, that's too hard a job. I'll leave that to the boys.
Brilliant.